Now let us try to get a bird's eye view of the different components offered by the Red5 Pro ecosystem. The Red5 Pro ecosystem consists of a media server, which is the core or the heart of the entire system. Under media server, we have web apps and plugins. Web apps are server-side applications, also known as contexts or scopes, and these are the entry point for your client on the server. So whenever you are deploying a custom business logic, you would start with a custom web app. Plugins, on the other hand, help you extend existing capabilities of the server or of a single web app or multiple web apps across the server. While business logic can be deployed via web apps as well as plugins, creating a web app can be much simpler in terms of development and debugging as opposed to plugins. And there are a few things which cannot be achieved with plugins at the moment, which are easily achievable through web apps. So we'll not be discussing those in details right now, but we'll be talking about them maybe in a different video. Next we have client SDKs. So as we talked before, Red5 Pro offers multiple client SDKs to help you target multiple platforms easily. So one of those is the HTML5 SDK, which is a collection of JavaScript libraries, and the HTML5 SDK is designed to help you target clients in the browser. The HTML5 SDK facilitates ingest and egress over WebRTC and Flash, and it supports HLS for egress only as a fallback. So each of these has a fallback order. You can define your own fallback order, and you can start with, let us say, WebRTC. So if the person's browser doesn't support WebRTC, the SDK will automatically fall back to the next available protocol, RTMP or HLS or whatever. And now if you want to develop a native application instead of a web application, browser-based web application, if you wanted to develop a native application for native experience for Android or iOS, so in that case, Red5 Pro provides mobile SDKs for both the platforms, and this utilizes RTSP protocol for ingest and egress. A lot of people attempt to mix both of them, like they want to have WebRTC in a native application. At the moment you won't get that, and for those of you who are trying cross-platform libraries or maybe trying to Chrome web view, your experience will be pretty bad, and at this very moment, there is no proper support for these third-party libraries. The ecosystem also allows you to make use of third-party encoders such as OBS, FMLE, Wirecast, FFmpeg, etc. So if you have a different encoder, a third-party encoder for RTMP, if you want to try that out, and if you see there is no instructions provided for these, you should try to match up your broadcast settings as close as possible to the ones that are already supported. And if it still doesn't work out, you can always reach out to the support. An important thing to know here is, at the time of creating this particular video, you can use these third-party encoders listed here for RTMP. We do not have support for custom RTSP encoders as of yet. The next valuable mechanism of the ecosystem is called clustering. So if you had a very few number of publishers and subscribers, like let's say 2 publishers and maybe like 30 or 50 or 100 subscribers, you can always manage them on a single server. But let us say your business grows and eventually you have a lot of publishers, like over 20 or 30 publishers and over 600, 500, 600 or more subscribers. So in that case, you should not be using a single instance, even if it somehow supports. You should not be using a single instance for such a deployment. So this is where clustering comes in. You would typically chain multiple Red5 Pro instances together, and these instances will bear separate roles, such as the origin and the edge. The origin is the one where the publishers will connect, and the edges are where the subscribers will connect. So clustering will allow you to distribute your load to multiple Red5 Pro instances defined by their roles. So as your traffic grows, you can always keep your system alert in prior by adding more number of edges before the event starts. So there is a disadvantage here, which I will explain to you while describing the next valuable feature of Red5 Pro. The next valuable and marked feature of Red5 Pro is the Red5 Pro auto scaling. So since we already talked about clustering, in general there's 2 ways to set up a cluster. You would set up a cluster manually, or you would set up a cluster automatically. Manually, when you set up a cluster manually, you need to know the traffic that you'll be getting prior to the event starts. In case of auto scaling, there's another new instance type called as the stream manager, which takes care of all these things. Stream manager takes care of creating, deleting instances in near real time as the load changes. So whenever you get more traffic, the stream manager will create new instances, new edges, new origins as needed based on the rules defined. And I would always recommend using stream manager based automatic cluster management as opposed to setting up your own manual clusters. Under the stream manager, there is something called controllers. So controllers, or cloud controllers as they are called, are components that interact directly with the cloud platform or the platform where you have deployed your instances. So the controller is responsible for interacting with the platform's APIs and carry out the CRUD operations, and that results directly in the auto scaling system. Currently, cloud controllers are available out of the box for popular cloud platforms such as AWS, Google, Azure, etc., DigitalOcean, etc. Now, in case you have your instances, your hardware servers, maybe in your own data center or virtual machines, and you want to make use of them through the auto scaling system, for that there is something called the simulated cloud. These concepts allow you to make use of existing instances that are not exactly running on a single cloud platform. Maybe they are scattered across multiple cloud platforms, or as I said, maybe they are hardware servers in your own data center. So you can club them together and you can manage them through the simulated cloud, which creates a concept of a virtual cloud. And this will help you manage your instances through the stream manager more efficiently. Another remarkable feature of Red5 Pro that comes under auto scaling is called transcoding. And transcoding is achieved through another different kind of instance, which is also a Red5 Pro instance. It's a different instance type by role. It is called a transcoder. Now, you should not confuse it with what I said a long time back about not requiring explicit transcoding when you are streaming over multiple protocols on a single server. But in this case, transcoding is required when you want to generate multiple bitrate streams. So let's say you have multiple subscribers living in different part of the world, having different kind of connectivity and different kind of bandwidths, and you want to be able to cater to all of them. In that case, you use transcoding to generate variants, or should I say multiple quality variants of the same stream, and each quality will be based on the bandwidth survey that you have done. Now, transcoding goes hand in hand with something called ABR, that is adaptive bitrate streaming. So if you're using WebRTC or the Red5 Pro HTML5 SDK, so to say, this will allow the subscriber clients to automatically switch stream quality in near real time. So your clients will be connecting to a certain quality version of the variants created, and then the server will automatically switch them to the appropriate quality based on their bandwidth. And this is how you can cater to different kind of bandwidths across the world using Red5 Pro. Now, Red5 also provides some out-of-the-box functionality through some standardized plugins. Out of these are the Restreamer plugin, which is commonly used for IP camera restreaming. It allows you to hook up an IP camera and have the stream pulled into Red5 Pro and then rebroadcasted, so that the subscribers can then subscribe to it through WebRTC or RTMP or RTSP, etc. Then we have the cloud storage plugin, which is responsible for managing your files or storing your files on popular cloud platforms like the S3 bucket and all. And then we have the authentication plugin, that is also called as the Simple Auth plugin. This is used to implement basic, strong and secure security on your custom web app. Now, if I go back to my definition of how I explained web apps and plugins, so here you can see why authentication is a plugin and not a web app, because the functionality required by one or many web apps. So the functionality should be deployed through a plugin and not a web app. So regarding the documentation of the Restreamer plugin, the cloud storage plugin and the Simple Auth plugin, you can always go to red5pro.com and search up on the documentation.